I've never experienced a moment in my life where race was not a part of my consciousness. And my children were like, no, mommy, and which is great for children, right? Because they're coming from a different perspective. And they're like, no, that's not true. And of course, I'm looking at my soon to be 12-year-old and my soon to be 10-year-old twins, like, what y'all know? But I didn't say that to them, of course. I'm like, what y'all mean? And they said, well, when you were a baby, you didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, there was a moment in my life and in every Black person's life where they had to be, they entered into a door of this world which they would never be able to close. At some, so we're talking in the salon and I'm like, again, I got high blood pressure. I was like, well, I think so. We started talking about when did we think it happened? I was like, for me, I think it was about 8 years old because I think that's where my love of Baltimore started because I had to start sharing my address in schools in order to get into schools. And that's when the issue was highlighted of based on your zip code, you're not going to be able to go to the best school for your child because of where you live. So the hustle is using someone else's address. And in the 80s, that was the thing. So by the time I was 8, I'm telling everybody where I live. And my mother's like, yo, the path that we are on, you can't be letting people know that you are from Sandtown, Winchester. And being the type of child that I was, similar to my oldest, immediately I asked the question of why. It just didn't make, why. And in that moment, race and barriers had to be explained to me. That's probably when I got high blood pressure because we were all like laughing, like, yo, it probably was as soon as the child found out that this was the door is when they developed the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, like the health concerns that are most prevalent to Black people. I feel like it all entered into the door of when you realized how much you were really going to have to balance, from this day forward. Because I feel like to any child, Black, white, green, da 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 da, right? You don't come in the world racist as God does not send you into the world racist, right? So there is this moment where it's put on you. It's how it's going to be it's going to be your seed until something miraculous, happens along your life's journey that, like with all of us going through therapy and we realize, our parents passed and our parents' parents passed and you start to see that, well, my father didn't have a chance to start off with either. My grandfather didn't have it. My great grandfather didn't have it. And how a person puts that on you it's how it's going to be your seed until something miraculous happens along your life's journey that like with all of us going through therapy and we realize our parents passed and our parents parents passed and you start to see that shit, well, my father didn't have a chance to start off with either. My grandfather didn't have it. My great grandfather didn't have it. And I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I'm making this point clear because it shapes every project that specifically Audacity, anything that I'm tied to. I've gotten to this point where it is impossible for there to be a line in corporate America and in the arts, in any sector, medical, where race is not, if you're talking about a challenge, at some point in digging, you're going to get there. So for me, I'm like, yo, I don't know how much time I have left, and I'm not going to walk around here blind for the time that I have. So I'm like, I'm going to try to figure out what I can do.